No. So, hey, just to clarify, I'm glad you asked. No, it's definitely not okay to pat little people on the head every time you meet them. Definitely no. That's a no.
So then I just comb their hair? Is that all right? I don't do the patting? This is the PowerFall project. Apparently we're recording. Hi, Nick.
Welcome, Mr. Adam. This is a very special event. I am ready to rock, as my attire says so. I'm wearing my best 80s wig with some Vegas sunglasses.
Are you rocking out with your socks on?
I do have pants on. No, just for the people playing PowerFall bingo. I do have pants on this episode. That's not always the case.
That's good. Right on. Yeah. I don't know what to do with that. What did you say about little people? This is not okay.
No.
You're not allowed to say that. Now, in Wolf of Wall Street, they did throw them like darts. They did.
And that's not the most memorable thing from the movie, for me at least.
Oh, it wasn't? What was yours?
Hey, buddy, what are we talking about this week?
Today, sir, makes 1 year since we started the PowerFall project. So this week we were talking about our anniversary episode. This is it. So everybody who paid all your money, this is that sode. That's what we podcasters that have been in the business for over a year now say. We call it sods. So anyway,
we call it a pod.
Yeah, you call it a pod. I call it a sode. Whatevs.
No, man, this is monumental. We started this podcast about a year ago, and as we constantly say, we started it with just the intent of just trying to connect with each other during COVID, during the lockdown. You know, you being based in LA and me in Las Vegas, and you were the driving force behind getting me going on this, because I was like, I don't know, who wants to listen to us, and what are we going to talk about for an hour? And then, you know, not too long ago, we recorded our first 2.5 hour podcast.
Yeah, a lot of learning, a lot of, nerves that we got out the first time. Like, we've been doing this a year, and I just now hit record on my camera, so that's cool. So missed that first little bit. So that's how that's going to go. But you're right. Okay, so we started this with having a couple of conversations. You were really into podcasting. I don't know that I had really heard a ton of them. And I think after our second phone conversation that went over an hour, we were like, maybe we should just hit record and do this. And we did. So I don't know, man. I'm having a blast.
Yeah, no, it's I've been a big consumer of podcasts for a long time. They're always, it started from my times where I was single, and, the house would be really quiet. So I always liked having some kind of chatter, some kind of background noise on. So I started listening to the Rogan podcast, and then that led to Fighter and the Kid. That led to a couple different entrepreneurial podcasts, and then Your Mom's House podcast. And there's probably about 12 that I rotate through, depending on the mood I'm in, and depending on what kind of, if I need 100% attention, I'm definitely, listening to, like Tim Ferriss. But if I just want some background chatter, I'll put on like Your Mom's House or, Fighter and the Kid, something where I can just kind of halfway listen and not miss anything.
How many podcast sods would you say you listen to a week?
A week? Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 6 or 7.
Okay.
Yeah, probably one a day at least.
Oh, that boy. All right. I'm like 4 or 5.
Okay.
Yeah.
How do you consume them? Is it iTunes, Spotify, YouTube? What are you doing?
I'm doing the iTunes, and I am usually either on a walk or I'm cooking, and I've got my headphones in. Yeah, man.
I've actually gone recently more towards YouTube, which is why we personally are going to start slowly pumping up our YouTube channel.
Yeah.
Oftentimes, I love just having it on in the background, and it kind of feels like you're in the room, almost like a fly on the wall. And that's what really stood out for podcasts with me, was because the conversations are longer format, they're not edited. That's what I really love about podcasts, is that you do feel like you're kind of in the room, part of the conversation.
Well, that's what my boy Cole always says when he's yelling at his radio, is he feels like he's in the room with us, and we're a bunch of idiots saying the wrong things, and then he has to correct us. So he does definitely give that feedback. But one thing that you talked about that I want to touch on as well was just kind of some of the reason why we did start this. And now you'd been a consumer of podcasts. I didn't really know a whole lot about it. I was a big radio guy, and I loved having, when I had my dog in my house, I had to have lots of noise going on in the background. So I always had like Netflix or something going on in the background, or the news or whatever, so that she couldn't hear all the noises around, not bark and all that kind of stuff. And so your reason for podcast is very similar to why I had, just the TV on or whatever. But the reason why we started this one really was, to your point, with the lockdown and being kind of in new areas. You were in Vegas, I'm in LA, and new to the area, and then having to be kind of in lockdown. We didn't have that normal meetups with buddies and grabbing a beer, or you're talking about the game last night at the water cooler at work, or the cubicle buddies and all that kind of stuff. And so the fact that we were transplants into new areas and then didn't really have a natural market, we were like, dudes needing this. So I don't know about you, but I've needed this, that camaraderie, hanging out, talking about stuff. And even if it's something that I have no idea what I'm talking about, and I bring it up and I just bounce it off you, that's kind of what's been missing, is being able to talk these things out, listen to your responses, and bring up things that maybe we don't know about. And part of the reason why you bring it up is because you don't know about it and you want to talk it through.
Yeah, I'm gonna back up a little bit there. One of the things that it's just the very simple fact that I get to look forward to once a week, getting down and having some drinks with my buddy, because I can hang out and drink with my wife, but she's only good for one sometimes, whereas on this podcast quite frequently we'll get a little tipsy, we'll get a little we'll kind of err on the side of getting canceled, with some of these ideas we're trying to flesh out here. But having that thing to look forward to every week really was a game changer. And much to your credit, you really kept us going every single week. We have not really missed a week of recording, except I think maybe one, but at the same time we had enough catalog, meaning we might have recorded 2 in 1 week and built that buffer there. We haven't missed a drop in 1 year.
That's right. It's pretty impressive, and I would say hats off to you, because you're the one that makes it all happen. Obviously with your technical skill, and you're the one that brought this all about, and doing editing and dropping and descriptions and everything important. So hats off to you, dude.
Well, we're definitely not going to sit here and stroke each other the whole episode.
We could celebrate each other.
We were talking about getting together, having drinks. What are you drinking on tonight here? What are you sipping on?
Yes. Okay. So I'm going way out on a limb here. I've got some Trader Joe's.
Actually, I lied.
Scotch.
Can you keep stroking me for a minute?
Yeah. Sorry. Here, hold on.
So Trader Joe's Scotch. You broke out the Scotch tonight, buddy.
How's my cadence there? Wait, no. Is it cadence?
Tempo, cadence.
Tempo, I think. Yeah. Tempo.
Yeah. Adam's a gentle giant.
Yeah, he is. Big, soft hands. So I'm having Trader Joe's Scotch that's finished in a bourbon cask. Now, this is one of my favorites there. It's pretty inexpensive, and it tastes really pretty good. The only problem I've come about, my wife says I'm allergic to alcohol, but I strongly disagree. But when I drink your really manly Trulies, I get a little stuffy, and then when I drink this one, I get a little stuffy. So,
oh no,
yeah, not so tough. I'm drinking me Scotch, getting stuffy. What are you drinking?
I am sipping on, inspired by our good friends Jimmy and Danny. I'm sipping on a stiff Paloma, and I'm already halfway through it because you were running a little bit late to the podcast. I already put down half of it. I'm feeling pretty good.
Attaboy, answers are at the bottom. Stiff Paloma, yeah. That sounds super hetero. Speaking
just like an alcohol allergy. What is that?
Speaking of that, can I tell you what I did this weekend?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, all right. So speaking of manly things, okay, 2 things that I did that could have, easily hand over my man card. I went, this part you'll be jealous of, but I went to the Hollywood Bowl for a concert.
Right, I saw some of that action on Instagram. Tell me about it.
Yeah, so the Hollywood Bowl, man. I mean, this is made famous a couple times and in some movies. Ted brought his girlfriend there and had Norah Jones sing to her in the Hollywood Bowl. So you've seen that in the movie Ted. Also in the show, This Is Us. John Legend did a private concert there at the Hollywood Bowl for Kevin and his then future wife. Spoiler alert.
Yep.
But I didn't really know a ton about the whole Hollywood Bowl except for when we were moving down and I was on that long motorcycle ride riding into LA. It was kind of like we made it like mark on the map. So once we see the Hollywood Bowl, we basically made it. And that feel of relief when I got off the 101 and saw the Hollywood Bowl when we moved here on that long day of motorcycle riding, that was a very cool, like, hey, we've made it. We're at the Hollywood Bowl. So the fact that we got to go to a concert, that the world is almost back to normal, where we could have a concert there was pretty cool. So that all said, now I'm going to get into how tough of a guy I am. The performer happened to be Christina Aguilera.
I've heard of her. Yep.
Yeah. So it was me, my wife, and pretty much every gay dude in Los Angeles was in attendance. So that was awesome, to be honest with you. It was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun. She played a lot of the songs that we were in early high school, middle school. And then
good.
On,
that's always good when they play the songs you expect, because there's nothing worse than an artist that's been around for 10 or 15 years and they're trying to play all the new stuff. You're like, no, we just want to hear the hits,
Yeah.
I don't want to hear the Rolling Stones new stuff. I want to hear the old stuff.
Right. And she has always probably played second fiddle to Brittany Spears. At the same time, she's been just exponentially more musically talented. She just has a much better voice. She is actually, in my opinion, an incredible singer. A little nod to last week's singers that I didn't even bring her up, I don't think. But she has a great voice. Her songs are still, Christina Aguilera songs, so they're not my favorite. At the same time, it was still really pretty cool. She's just, she seems to have new breasts. And has probably got, because they were on full display, even on all the Jumbotrons.
You got to hang on to what you got,
Yeah. I mean, she has kind of that like Mariah Carey, looks like she fluctuates a little bit, but she works really hard and she looked great and all that kind of stuff. But her voice has hold true. And she's got maybe a little maturity in it, but yeah, it was pretty cool. So
are you saying Adele's losing weight and Christina's gaining weight?
I don't know.
Dancing in delicate territory here.
I think it's still net the same. I don't really know where it's going, but no, I don't know how this shit works. But it's obviously, unfortunately, it is a. Even though it's a hear me business, it's definitely a look at me business. And
very much so. Yeah, very much so.
That's what happens, unfortunately, is, two dudes on a podcast talking about how she looks.
We're the ultimate authority in a lot of things. That's not one of them.
But the reason why I did bring this up is because I wanted to bring up one thing that I thought was really, really, really cool. And it was a self-reflection, because I don't know that I'm great at this. And I'll ask you this: have you ever gone to, say, a concert by yourself, or a movie theater by yourself, or a comedy club by yourself? What's
comedy
your
club?
stance?
Comedy club, yes. Club, yes.
What's your stance on going to those things by yourself?
Man, it got me out of some lonely times there prior to my beautiful wife coming along.
Okay.
There were some times where I was just like, it's Friday night. I'm like, I don't want to go out and just hit the bars, and a lot of my friends at the time were on their first marriage.
Yep.
A lot of my friends at the time were having kids, and so there's a whole new group of friends that were out there. I just didn't feel like going out and getting up in that hustle and bustle. But I was like, I didn't want to sit home on a Friday night. So Bellevue, Washington, Parlor Comedy Club, rest in peace.
Yeah.
Used to do the free ticket giveaways. They would never do it on like a Joe Coy weekend, but there would always be, some of the middle ground guys and
like the slapdicks, like Kevin Hart or somebody.
Yeah, and you could always get in as a single. Slapdicks, those hacks.
Those hacks.
But I think I've gone twice to a comedy show, free tickets, solo.
Oh man, I gotta tell you, there's a deep-rooted lust for being able to do those things by myself, and I thought my whole life, I thought that it was is a, oh no, I would never do that kind of thing by myself. I think that I had a buddy that I worked with that he would be like, yeah, fuck it. Sometimes I want to go to a movie. I just want to go by myself. Let's go check one out in the middle of the day. And I was like, oh my God, that is incredible.
I've never been that guy, but I'm envious of that guy.
Yeah, that has never crossed my mind. I feel weird sometimes going to a restaurant and eating by myself. I mean, like, even if it's like, McDonald's, you're going to get your food and just sit there and eat. I'm going to rather go sit in my car, or the restaurants that may be above McDonald's, but not quite, a white tablecloth. Am I sitting there? I don't know. Maybe
Red Robin?
Yeah. You going to Red Robin by yourself? Anyway, the whole complex, I guess, and where this is going is that I don't really have that ability. I've gone one time to a movie theater by myself. My wife was doing a girls' night, and I went and got them like some desserts, handed them off, and I was like, I'm out. And I went and walked to the movie theater and watched the movie. It was a great time. It was so awesome that I never did it again. Now, granted, that's when COVID started, so I didn't really necessarily want to do that. But I haven't really had that opportunity since this epiphany to go and do things by myself. And I was very impressed by a couple of people that could go to a concert and not sit by yourself because you're there with a bunch of other people. But I watched this dude that was probably 6 or 7 seats down from me, came by himself, walked past us, sat there, and you could have, I looked over and I was like, you could not have told him that he was not having a personal concert with him and Christina. And I'm like,
how old a dude, just for context?
Mid 20s, mid to late 20s.
Okay.
I'm like, the confidence and the not give a fuck attitude where he can just come sit in his stands between a couple in their 50s and then a couple other people next to him, and he can just be having an absolute hell of a time at this concert. I go, good on you. I can't even stand up next to my wife and be sway back and forth without being like, am I in somebody's way? Are people looking at me? What's going on? What do I do with my hands? What do I do? Are my hands supposed to be in my pockets? But I'm supposed to be enjoying this, So it's not just stand there with my arms folded like I'm a 40-year-old, disappointed dad. I mean, it's so weird. I don't know what to do in that situation. And this dude's just having the time of his life. I'm like, I envy that, brother.
Yeah, I was asking just because I was like, is it an older dude? Is it kind of a weird fetish thing that he was going through? That's why I kind of asked for context what the age of the person was.
No, he was better looking than both of us put together. He looked like he had his life together. He might have been gay. I don't know, but he was there doing his thing, and I'm like, and it's not like he was just crazy all over the place with knees and elbows dancing like a crazy man, but he was just in his moment, and yeah, man.
Who knows? Maybe his date canceled or something like that. You never know the situation. But yeah, I'm envious of that too. The only thing I can really do comfortably solo right now is if it's a really nice bar or restaurant, I love bellying up to the bar and ordering some food, chatting with the bartender. Definitely not like a Red Robin, but there's a couple places here in Vegas that I love. Shout out Cleaver's, our favorite restaurant. They've got a real nice, old classic wood bar, very nostalgic. So it feels kind of cool just even sitting there. But I've recently been there by myself, just killing some time, eating some dinner, having a drink.
Up to a bar, I can see that. Yep, I totally can see that. But yeah, man, I don't know. It was pretty cool. It was pretty cool to see that.
So question for you then. You were talking about going to a show solo.
Mm-hmm.
I got what would you do in this situation?
Okay.
Question here for you. So, I'm not a big fan of concerts. You know that. I don't like big crowds.
Mm-hmm.
We've got a good friend coming to town in a couple of weeks here. This gentleman's in his 50s. Used to be a client of mine.
Okay.
Super nice dude.
Okay.
Someone I would trust with my life. Someone I would trust with anything.
Mm-hmm.
His wife canceled on the trip to Vegas with him. And one of the things they were going to do while here was go to the Usher concert.
Okay, so I see where you're going.
He calls me today. He's like, I got one extra ticket, you guys. If one of you guys wants to go to the Usher concert, he's like, I can't sell the ticket. you know, because it was a kind of a gift, blah, blah, blah situation. He's like, what should I do? Do you guys know anyone that wants a ticket, or do you want to go, or do your wife want to go? And me personally, I'm not an Usher fan. You know, I grew up with him, but I'm just kind of like, I could, you know, whatever, give two shits about it, you know, unfortunately, because A, it's a concert, and B, it's R&B, and I'm like, okay, whatever. But my wife just about had a heart attack when she heard that Usher was in town. There's a free ticket. So I'm
like, yeah.
Oh, yeah. It burned. I let it burn. So my predicament is like, do I let my wife go on a man date with this old gentleman that I know that I used to see on a daily basis at the gym that I worked at, and it's a win-win for both of them. You know, he gets to use that ticket, and then she gets to go see a concert that I probably wouldn't give two shits about going to with her anyways. What would you do?
All right. So here's my thought process. Okay. And then I'll eventually get to my answer, because I don't have my answer right away. I have to go through the thought process. Okay. So, first off the right out of the gate, I would say, yeah, let her go, because she will absolutely have a blast. It'll make homeboys night to have Jane be absolutely having a blast with him there. They will both have a phenomenal time. Okay. So right off the cuff, that's easy answer. Yep, absolutely. Especially
let me give you a little caveat here, though. This might change the thing here.
Okay.
Now, I already prefaced that I trust him with everything in my life.
Yep.
However, if this character from this movie was cast in real life,
oh no,
this would be this individual. No, close. It's the ladies' man.
Oh, Tim Meadows.
Tim Meadows. Do you remember that movie?
Yeah.
I mean, which obviously started out as a Saturday Night Live skit, but if you had to cast him in real life, that would be him.
Oh, so he's handsome.
And a charmer.
Oh, damn it. Well, you know, my answer still stays the same. But here's my thought process. Okay, and this is where my plan B might actually even be plan A. Okay, so I had the opportunity to go to Bon Jovi concert at the last minute.
Oh yeah.
On Valentine's Day, several years ago.
Okay.
It was in
Solo.
It was in Tampa. I lived in St. Pete, and I had a colleague who was my boy. He was a good dude. A couple years older than me, but like, you know, nice and low maturity, just like me, and fun and all that kind of stuff. And he was married, had kids, but he had been given these tickets from a client that were like, can't go. My wife had a different plan. 2 tickets to Bon Jovi, like row 13, right? So I mean, like, right, you could see Bon Jovi's sweat if you're into that kind of thing. Okay.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
And you know, and it's at the Tampa Bay Arena. I mean, these were $500 tickets, you know. And I had a guy. It was a Tuesday night, and he texted me and was like, "Hey, Bon Jovi, I got great tickets." Blah 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 blah. And I'm like, "Wait, what? Well, it's Valentine's Day," and I didn't have a Valentine. I'm like, "It's Valentine's Day. Take your wife." And he's like, "Can't, sitters, problems, all that kind of stuff. It's just gonna be me. You're welcome to join me." And I'm like, what the hell? And I'm thinking about the time. I'm like, oh God, it's gonna take 45 minutes to get there. By that time, you know, not knowing, you know, the concerts start like an hour and a half late anyway, just about every fucking time. And I'm thinking about it, you know, and I'm like, well, I had to, you know, I was in my bowling league. I was already there. Like, there were so many excuses. And so I didn't go.
Shit.
I didn't go. And I was like, yeah, but I mean, two dudes at a Bon Jovi concert on Valentine's Day, that's just weird, man. And I let myself not go to that. So
damn.
So through that story is why I would say, Nick, you should go to Usher with your man friend and have a great fucking time. Maybe Uber and have a couple more drinks than you would normally, especially if you were driving. And then you can just fucking unwind and have a fucking great time. But it'll make a great story, and why not go?
So leave Jane at home and go to Usher with my man friend.
Did she get asked?
Yeah, he's like,
was she first? Yeah. He asked her first.
Oh, he's much more of a fan of her than he is me.
Okay. I think you take the ticket and you go, and then you.
I think so too.
You report back to us. You take selfies. You videotape yourself on and lots of white guy underbite And lots of fist pumps.
So leave my wife at home while I go watch her childhood dream boat perform.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, cool. Yeah, good marriage vow. Check back for if I'm still married next week.
Oh, dude. Have you, when she's had something that's awesome and you have been like, yeah, no, I'll just stay home. You go ahead and I'll come pick you up. You've never done one of those?
I have done a couple of those, and then the one thing that's kind of just popped in my head here too is for one whole year, despite what's going on in our life, she's given me Monday nights. And there's been a couple situations where it was not opportune or ideal for me to come get drunk on a podcast with my buddy Adam, where I could have been out doing more responsible husband duties, you know?
Yeah. Well, with all that said, go to Usher.
You talking to her or me?
You.
I don't want to go to Usher. I don't want to give two shits about Usher.
Okay. Well, I think you should. But either way, with my two plans, it's going to work out. But don't do what I did and not go or not have her go.
Yeah, I think you're right. That's kind of my gut instinct there. Yeah. I just wanted to bounce it off my buddy Adam, which is one of the things we're known for at the PowerFall Project is just flushing out ideas in a safe place. One of the things that you're known for that kind of evolved naturally on this podcast that I look forward to every single week is the Adam Rants segment. Do you have anything that fired you up last week?
Okay, so I had something.
Yeah, buddy.
Okay. All right. So, systems and operations. Okay. Everybody is so hell-bent on using the right system and the right operation and making sure that you stay in your lane and that I can help you this far and then I can move you on to the next thing. And I know my little scope and then I pass it on. And we're so oriented to work in these systems and these operations. And I'm not just talking about like customer service, but it can be sales and colleagues and all that kind of stuff. And I'm going to paint a little picture here for you, Nick, and you can tell me if I'm way off base. But
paint it for me, Daddy.
I had to use a program. I'm relatively not super new, but relatively new to this particular company's way of doing things. But I've been doing it for 10 years or so. And it was just a simple little like, hey, I can't get when I want to run this report. Some of these boxes are grayed out and I want to select them. And so when I ask that question, I get pushed off. And it's not necessarily that, customers, people that you work with, vendors, customer service, it's all kind of the same thing. It feels though in this corporate world that we're all in that everyone likes to pass you off. As soon as they've identified that it's outside their scope, they want somebody else to help you. And sometimes it can happen before they've even identified what it is that's the problem or what it is that you're saying. And what I'm getting at is like, I was like, oh yeah, I'm having trouble with this report. I need to be able to click, and then quickly, the person that I asked about said, "Oh yeah, no, just give the vendor a call." I'm like, "Okay, all right. I don't think that's the problem. I think it's just a couple of buttons that I'm not pressing correctly." They're like, "No, just give the vendor a call." I call the vendor, and they're like, "Oh yeah, sounds like you need to call the customer service line. They'll walk you right through it. Yeah, no, it's they'll straighten you right out." I call customer service. They're like, "Oh, weird, it's not working. Let me send you to tech support." So they sent me to tech support, and I'm like, all right, I don't think it's a problem. I think it's just I either clicked something incorrectly or did what I wasn't supposed to do or whatever. And they're like, gosh, yeah, it's the fact that you're not being able to pull that report. I'm not seeing a problem in your system. Let's elevate it. I better elevate it to a manager. So then they elevate it to a manager, and the manager's like, system's working, just fine. So now that we've elevated it, we've circled in, a vice president, and they've looked at it. Looks like there was never a problem in your system, sir. All you needed to do was was you click generate the report before you had clicked the boxes. So the reason why they were grayed out is because you had already pressed generate.
You know what this all sounds like?
Office Space?
I mean, definitely, I had flashbacks to Office Space for sure. But I've never felt like more of a boomer. I recently got my first Apple computer.
Oh, okay.
And I've never, I've had, Apple phones my whole life since the invention of the iPhone 1. But I've never worked with the computer-based, Apple operating systems. I've literally been watching YouTube videos, Apple for beginners.
Right.
And having to navigate around there. But to your point, all the stuff that you just kind of were laying out there are the reasons why I'm strongly considering completely getting out of Microsoft and out of Windows.
Yep.
Because there's nothing more frustrating. Like, I was getting ready for a Zoom call, a big call. Like, we had a big production team meeting here with like 13 people on there a couple of days ago. Yep. And my computer decides to do a Windows update.
Right.
Like 3 minutes before the call. And so I'm like sitting here like just like sweating bullets. I'm like, oh shit, I'm gonna be late on this call. I'm gonna look like a dumbass. They're paying me a lot of money to be here.
Yep.
It finally kicks back on, but then the update, lo and behold, now my webcam doesn't work.
Right. Yeah.
So I'm on the
Thanks
call.
For the
I made the
update.
call. Yeah, I got the thanks for the update. And then I spend another half hour after the call trying to research this. Like, oh well, the Windows updated, but now you need to update your drivers.
Right. Yep.
Go kick rocks, Microsoft. Good.
You didn't know that you had to do that?
How do you update your drivers?
Do you even code, bro? Do you even code?
Yeah, learn to code.
Oh God.
But I just want my shit to work.
Yep.
I know Microsoft can do some things that the Apple can't, but if it does 99% of what I need to do,
yeah,
good. I just want it to work, man.
I'm feeling the same way, dude. I think what it is though is that it was never a problem. I just needed somebody to help, and the problem was that nobody throughout that chain of command wanted to help.
Yep.
They just wanted to move you on to the next thing. They wanted to solve their problem, which was you on the phone. They didn't want to actually. They didn't actually want to help, and I think that's the problem. So I don't know. It was a very frustrating time for me, Nick. So I had to rant about it.
Dude, that's why when I actually get someone on a phone, on a customer service call, and I actually get a human being within like the first 30 seconds to 90 seconds, I'm ecstatic. And if they actually spend the time to help me, I let them know like how good of a job that is.
Yep.
Man.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I got another thought for you if you're ready.
Is this an Adam rant or is this a thought?
It might be a rant.
Okay.
But I want this to this is not going to be evergreen. I want these things to stay kind of evergreen, and I don't want to get pissed off about the current political environment and things like with COVID and all that kind of stuff.
Everyone loves talking about politics and religion. Let's go, buddy.
Okay. All right. So, okay, we'll start here. How often do you wash your hands a day?
Ooh. See, when COVID hit, this didn't change for me at all because I've been kind of a germaphobe for a very, very long time.
Right.
Probably, I'm not joking, probably upwards of almost 50 times.
Yeah, I would say that I'm probably close. And even if it was 25 or 75, it's somewhere in there, right?
Dude, yeah. Continue on, then I'll share some more thoughts about my OCDness and where this evolved from.
Right. I was when I wrote this note down, I was like, yeah, probably 10 times a day, and then I actually counted myself while I was making dinner, and I think I did 14 times while I made dinner.
Oh, for sure.
Right.
Yeah.
So I was like, yeah, throughout the day, I mean, it's got to be 25 to 40, and then with the good people at COVID Inc. letting us know that we need to wash our hands for 20 seconds, I got my mind going a little bit, and I was like, you remember those ads about not letting the water run when you're brushing your teeth?
Oh yeah.
Okay. So I pulled that little thread of that, and I was like, okay, so if you're not supposed to let the water run while you brush your teeth because that wastes water. And when you brush your teeth, it's 2 minutes, right? You got 4 quads, and you put 30 seconds on each quad, 2 minutes. So and then I found out, like, okay, if you are letting the water run while you're brushing your teeth, you're letting like 6 gallons of water go.
Damn.
No,
okay.
excuse me, 4 gallons. Still,
okay. I was like, that's still a lot, though. Okay,
still,
okay.
4 gallons, right? So 4 gallons of water. If 2 minutes of thing just running it's a lot of water. And then I was like, so if we're supposed to wash our hands for 20 seconds, down that same math is about 66% of a gallon. Okay, for every time you wash your hands. So if you only wash your hands 10 times a day, you are using essentially 6.5 gallons of water for one person a day. Now, in LA County, which is in a drought always, has 10 million people. So that's 66 million gallons a day if you only washed your hands 10 times.
That was a lot of math, but I'm still with you here. I don't know if we have any listeners left, but I'm still with you.
My point is that we hear about these impending droughts and all this problem and all this kind of stuff, and we don't necessarily think, it's very much so like, oh, we got to wash our hands, you got to do this, you got to do that, the COVID, and I don't think we think through the repercussions of stuff. And if we have droughts and if we lose all of our water, we're going to lose a lot more people due to not having food than we would be about a really, really strong flu this COVID that kills twice as many people as the flu, which is still 2 out of 1 million.
Well, what's funny when they say drought, as soon as we figure out how to pull water out of the ocean efficiently, everything will be irrelevant about drought, water shortage, blah, 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 because water doesn't... This is something Mr. Wizard taught me.
Yep.
Check back to our favorite TV show episode. But water doesn't get created or destroyed. It just transfers, forms. So it's like the same amount of water is in the earth now as it was 10 years ago.
Yep.
It's just not in your location there in California. It's not in Lake Mead, which is at record lows in the past 30 years.
Yep. No, so, you're exactly right. And once it becomes more cost effective to transfer that water into fresh water, it will happen. It's how supply and demand works. I washed my hands. I've been thinking about how many times I washed my hands while you were doing that math problem there. I don't know where I developed this OCD-ness, but what I'll do is when I'm cooking eggs, let's say I'm doing scrambled eggs, and this goes the same with if I'm cooking like some raw meat or some ground chicken or something like that, I'll use a spatula or a wooden spoon and kind of break up the eggs a little bit, stir them around, break up the chicken, whatever it is, ground chicken, and I'll cook it to a point where it's about halfway cooked. Then I'll take that spatula, go to the sink, wash it, because I'm like, I know this thing touched raw meat or raw eggs. I'm going to use that tool then to finish the stuff. So when I see people doing that and they don't wash it halfway through, the germaphobe in me freaks out. I'm like, oh, I'm going to get salmonella. This is it. This is where I'm going down. I'm going to get food poisoning. Yep. No, you're exactly right. I do not do that, but you are correct if you're going to be super strict about all that. But I remember thinking that too, like, with dude, I don't know, I was thinking about that stuff with just a knife though, right? I mean, like, I remember having a conversation with my mother about COVID and how like we can all try to be as perfect as possible, but are you gonna bleach wipe your avocado before you cut it? Because if you cut it, you're still taking the knife through the edge of it, and it's still going into the part where you eat. And that's what it was. Okay, so my wife and I were driving home from the Christina Aguilera concert where we were tough guys. And I was talking about how we are pretty incredible human beings. We have immunity to things. We're able to live through things. We're exposed to all kinds of crap, and then we still live. Like, for an example, if you and your buddy are walking on the sidewalk, and then a car drives through a puddle and it splashes you, and that puddle that's on the ground in all the nasty shit splashes you in the face, and maybe some gets on your lips or in your mouth and your eyes, you are not rushing to the emergency room. You might wash your face. You might wash yourself off. You might be pissed. You might go take a shower. But you're not You're not just rushing to the hospital. And while I was saying that, on our drive home, the sprinklers of reclaimed water splashed me in the face through the window and got on my lips. And so as I was thinking that same profound thought, it just slapped me right in the face.
I mean, I go through the same modality too when I'm in the Las Vegas pool party water and a little bit splashes in my eye. I'm like, screw pink eye. This is how I get SARS. This is how I get COVID, Delta variant. This is how I get everything, you know?
Yeah.
Oh, man.
But that's a lot. But that's why we have strong immunities. And like everybody and their brother is a microbiologist now. And so worried about this stuff. But I mean, that's the point of herd immunity. That's the point of vaccines. That's the point of all this stuff. You're not gonna just clean it all off.
No, for sure. You want that adaptation, you know, and unfortunately it does come with the cost of some loss of life, which is the tough part in the whole thing. But I mean, our immune systems are amazing. I've mentioned this before, but I'll mention it briefly. My immune system strengthened drastically when I started working at the gym.
Yeah.
For the first 2 years, I was sick constantly.
Mm-hmm.
Constantly. I remember I went through gallons of Dayquil just to make it through the gym because I got to the point where I couldn't call in sick anymore.
Right. Right.
But you know, flash forward to year 7 working in the gym, I'm still a germaphobe in the gym. Like, I know that like once I start touching equipment, that hand does not touch my face. That hand does not touch anything. And one time when I was coaching, you know, I was at the height of my sterileness, the height of my awareness of just everything. I'm helping one of my good clients. You know, a big 220-pound dude he had finally got to the point where he could do chin-ups almost by himself. And so he's doing chin-ups. He got 1 or 2, and I'm going to help him get the last 2. So I come up behind him, put my hands on his back, and I'm helping him lift up a little bit. And at the last chin-up, I look up. Right as I look up, I watch slow motion, a bead of sweat come off the back of his head, right in my mouth.
Yep.
And the gag reflex kicked in, but I'm like, this is the point where I'm going to get sick. But no, sure enough, I pulled through. I didn't get sick, but it was my gag reflex kicked in. He's like, "What's wrong?" I'm like, "Bro, I love you, but yeah."
Yeah. All right. So I think I've been exposed to a lot of other people's sweat, and it doesn't bother. Now, a lot of people, I'm sure, would get bothered by this, but I didn't wrestle in middle school and high school or college, which I think is probably the one step further, right? If you're doing MMA or combat sports, things like that.
That's one sport I wish I did do. We didn't have it at our small Christian school. We didn't have wrestling. That's one I wish I did.
I think you'd be less freaked out about another man's sweat because
or on the contrary, you're aware of it more though, because like that's where like what am I trying to say? Ringworm, and what's the worst one that you can get, like an open wound that turns into
MRSA, like staph.
MRSA. That's where MRSA and staph live, you know. So you're immune to it, but you're also aware of it. Like, you know, immediately after you got to hit the showers and you got to shower real good.
Yeah, I think that playing basketball, playing football, and all that kind of stuff. I remember being on I'm out in the middle of the field on a long series or something like that, and you know, you got to pick your nose. All right. You know, like I just, or that guy's sweat, you know, you got tackled and now they're spitting in your face, you know, spitting and sweating and, you know, hawking loogies on your face because you're at the bottom of a pile. Like, what are you going to do? You're like, ew, your germs. I'm trying to get up. What are you guys doing? This is stupid. You know, like, you're not going to do that. And, you know, years and years and years of that, you're just like, who gives a shit? And then, like, I would get sick just as much by meaning like very rarely as everybody else that weren't doing all those things. So I guess I just didn't care as much about that stuff.
I grew up doing a sport where you're eating dirt, literally racing motocross. You know, there's times where you're following someone, you're battling for position, and you're so close to them that you're doing nothing but just eating their roost.
Yep.
Your heart rate's elevated, so you're supposed to breathe through your nose, but at that point you're mouth breathing, you're doing everything you can, and
yep.
I can't tell you. I wish I had a stat on how much dirt I've swallowed and ingested.
Yep.
Because a good motocross race, you're picking dirt bookers out for the next 3 or 4 days afterwards.
Yep. Absolutely. Yep. Yeah. So anyway, this has been been speaking of your sterile years. I had a thought. Okay. You can. This is not a rant. My rants were pretty shitty today, so I do apologize about that. But I guess just not enough things are really pissing me off today, Nick. But
well, no, that's good. We were trying to think of something monumental to do for our 1-year anniversary, but at the same time, like when it boils down to it, I just wanted to get together and hang with my buddy here, and we could go big showy episode and do all kinds of fun stuff, but I just wanted to hang and talk with you. We do got some stuff we're going to get into as far as like hypothetical stuff and and whatnot, but hit me. What are you thinking, man? What's on your mind?
Okay, right. So I had another thought. I don't know if I was watching a show or what, but it was talking. I made this realization. Now I know that it's not anything crazy, or it's not something that people have already thought, but in this world, we live in a planet where there are people that want babies and can't have them. And then we are also in a world where people are having babies that don't want them. And I feel like, supply and demand 101, yet it seems to be the hardest and most expensive interactions. It's so political. There's like a stigma to it. And whether you're pro-life or, pro-abortion, you're
pull out.
You're right. Yeah. Or there's CP, Child Protective Services. There's adoption agencies. At the same time, there's homeless kids. There's orphans. There's all kinds of stuff. And it just seems like you have to go through so much if you want to have a child and can't. Like you have to go through so much, and then it's so easy for people to have them that don't want them necessarily. Yet we as human beings in 2021 have an extremely difficult time solving this problem. I don't know. I'm not necessarily looking for an answer, but it just seems like we've got to be better at this, and like we can figure this out.
Yeah, why does it seem like the most fertile people in the world is the 17-year-old kid with a neck tattoo?
Yeah. Yep.
That gets someone pregnant. Why are they the most fertile people in the world,
Right.
And it's the ones that shouldn't be having kids,
Right. And it's a bit like the Luke Wilson movie Idiocracy, where, like the people with the Harvard education that wanted to wait and do their career and all this kind of stuff, didn't quite have a kid. And then somebody who's not maybe as qualified in perpetuating the species maybe had 17 kids. But I guess the point though is that like that how is it that we are so dumb about this? Is it
our fast-paced life has caused us to the point where the people that are pursuing higher education, pursuing starting careers, it puts a stress on their body that makes the reproductive stuff suffer, unfortunately.
So why are we making it so hard for them to be parents of people, of adoptions or, that
right.
Kind of
there is a lot of hoops to jump through.
Yeah. Hoops. It's, I watched, that's what it was. I watched this show on Netflix called Heist, and it's like a documentary about these people. And this dude became a criminal because he and his wife wanted to have a baby, and it was going to cost $30,000 to $40,000. It was $30,000 to $40,000 to go through the in vitro and the test tube baby and all that kind of stuff, and then eventually have to adopt. It was like $30,000 to $40,000. And so him and a couple buddies did kind of the Goodfellas thing and ripped off a loading dock in an airport where there's a bunch of cash, and they damn near got away with it. But he was motivated by that because he couldn't have a baby with the woman that he loved in like 2017. And like, we can't get this dude a kid. He has to spend $40,000.
It's nuts, man. I watched my buddy go through the same thing. He had, he and his wife, she'd already had kids from a previous marriage, and they were trying to have some of their own now. And yeah, they spent 30, 40, whatever it was to do the in vitro thing, and it didn't work, and thank God it didn't work, because now fast forward, I don't know if that was the catalyst, but they're actually not married anymore. But you're right. It is. Yeah.
I mean, it's like a farmer like pissed that he's got all this fruit that he has to deal with. I mean, that's our problem right now. We've got kids, we've got people that want them, but let's put tons and tons of red tape in the way and make it a problem for everyone.
Yeah, we're living in an interesting time. With all the genetic modification stuff that's coming available now, we're living in a time where in our lifetime we're going to be able to see superhumans being created in a test tube.
Mm-hmm.
One of the questions that I was looking at today when I was kind of putting together some topics later that we'll get into with would you rathers, it was, would you rather go 50 years in the past or 50 years in the future?
Ooh.
And it just got me thinking about, like, I was listening to someone on Rogan not too long ago talking about, genetic modifications and creating super athletes. I'd like to go 50 years in the future just to see where this is going. Cause like it's on our plate right now. It's something that's real. It's something happening, all the stem cell stuff, in vitro stuff. And it's not perfect though right now, because even Dr. Drew, they went through some kind of fertility treatment, but it kind of backfired for even Dr. Drew. You know his story by chance?
No.
They were trying to have one kid. They had 3.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
So when you're playing with the test tubes.
Yep. So they had 3. So he's talked openly about how big of a struggle that was. In the end, he's really happy that they had 3 all at once, because now all of his kids are grown. They're out of the house. They've actually got their life back faster than they would have been if they would have, wanted 3 kids, but had it over the course of 10 years,
Right. Yeah, of course. It's an 18-year deal instead of a 27-year. In my mom's case, it's a 39-year-old deal. So that's interesting. So that brings up another thought, is the importance of ideas and learning, and not just one way of doing things. And so like you get like what you just talked about, like it's getting different ideas, genetic modification, things like this, right? If we go down a path of only thinking about things one way, right? Like let's just say the genetic modification of athletes or things like that, right? Like what if one school of thought is, right, like not using steroids, not using performance enhancing drugs, not doing these kinds of things, right? Because then it just encourages people to cheat a little bit, right? Or find the most optimal way. Like you're looking at the Tom Brady's and the LeBrons, where they tons of money on making their bodies healthier and keeping them in peak physical condition and hyperbaric chambers and oxygen and all this other stuff. But don't take human growth hormones. By all means, don't do that, or these other things that we say are not okay. But I think the reason why we need to learn and experience and or be open to all these different ideas and avenues. Maybe they don't need to be in the NBA or on professional cycling or all these other things, but the learning and having of different, pushing the envelope and learning in those different areas do help. And the reason why I say that is because if one way of thinking was, no, the only way you can be a good athlete is by having steaks and beers and 3 cigarettes after your game, that's the way that it's always been. That's the way that it's done. That's the most optimal way. If that was the only thing adapted, or if that was the only thing taken, and we all just did that, you would level off. And so different thoughts, different learnings, different ideas, and the importance of different experiences from people from different walks of life and different experience levels have to bring in their ideas and do that kind of stuff. I think that's just super, super important.
Man, So far, this has been a heavy episode, and my brain hurts for two reasons. My brain hurts, one, from that math problem you made me do earlier there too with the water.
Sorry about that.
And then two, my brain hurts because I put on this goddamn wig here that I was trying to use to celebrate. You know, I wanted to rock out, you know, our 1 year anniversary party, but my head is on fire. So I'm thinking we do two things here real quick.
Okay.
I'm gonna go run and get a refill here.
Attaboy.
And two, I'm gonna ditch this wig because I'm about ready to pass out here live on the episode.
Attaboy. We should do that, and I'll try to make it a little bit lighter. I had so many things to talk about. I might have been overserved and wrote down a bunch of ideas this weekend. And you wanted to have a nice, fun episode, so I do apologize.
Cool. So let's take a quick pit stop, and we'll be right back. And we're back. My name is Nick. I'm joined with my co-host here, the Drip Daddy, Addy Pimp Daddy himself. What's up, man?
Oh, just dripping.
Dripping.
I need what's dripping? Again?
That's another one of those words we were talking about last week that just sometimes pops in our vocabulary that makes us feel like boomers.
Oh yeah, I'm like, respect the drip, Karen. Right? That's what the kids say?
Hashtag, yeah.
You know what the kids say? They say, that's what the kids say. You know you're hip when you say that's what the kids say.
So I got a refill here. I ditched the tequila. I had my one Paloma, and I ditched it for last week I had the Simpler Times, which is a Trader Joe's, not branded, but one that they carry there, Simple Times Pilsner. This week I opted for the lager, so I'm taking the very first sip of it as well.
Okay. Now, the difference between a Pilsner and a lager.
Well, my first thought would be like the bitterness of it.
Okay.
I'm probably gonna get schooled by all the beer connoisseurs out there, but the Pilsners are more of a sour.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Whereas the lager's more of a little smooth. They're in the same wheelhouse, so if a lot of places don't have one or the other, for me they're interchangeable.
Now, obviously, they're both light beers. I was pretty, and the beer connoisseurs can fix me up here, but I thought a lager was like that traditional light, like blonde beer, very British. Give me a lager, and then a Pilsner is more maybe German, has a little bit more robustness to it, but it's still that same light color. I remember my days in Norway. You would just get a pill. 2 pills.
2 pills?
2 pills.
I don't know about any of that, but I do know that it's 6.2% alcohol by volume.
Oh,
so,
there you go.
As my wife would say, that's a good value.
Mm-hmm.
Good value.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's like 2. That's like 2 Miller Lights.
Or 3 MGD 64s.
There you go.
Oh man.
What do you got, dude? We're celebrating 1 year. This is crazy.
Well, I was reminiscing today, and I was going back through, we could talk about our favorite episodes. We could talk about, the ones that we, have the most downloads, and that's getting all technical and whatnot. But I was going to ask you, like, what was kind of the most unexpectedly engaging for you to put together a list? That's kind of a long-winded question there.
Yeah. So then so that I can buy time, say that again.
Well, so like we had some lists which are pretty easy to come up with, like, the top 5 favorite athletes was one that was pretty easy for me to come up with. We had our top 5, let's see here, alcoholic drink episode. That was a fun one to do, but there was other ones that kind of caught me off guard that were really involved, like even as most recently as last week's episode, which was the top 5 gifts that men actually want. Yeah. That caught me off guard and how fun that was to put together. We did lists at, at the $20 level, $100 level, $500, $1,000, and $10,000.
Yeah.
And it was cool picking out gifts at those levels for you, because I wrote the list around you. So if you haven't checked out that episode, check out that episode.
Okay. So I think I'm ready to answer your question with words, but it's not necessarily an answer. I think that the most challenging ones, well, I'll start with the easy ones. So the ones that were easy are people. So if I have to think about a person that could potentially be somebody I want to have a beer with, or be somebody that would play me in a movie, or be my most iconic athlete, or be somebody that would be in the cabin episode or on your speed dial or things like that. Same thing for like movie characters and stuff like that. So I think the difficult ones were when I'm like, oh shit, people might actually look at us as an authority in top 5 lists, where like the gifts or dream house stuff, or things, like the things like not for me might have been, was fun, but I don't know that anybody's going to be like, well, Adam said, so I don't ever see that coming back to be like, that's a big thing. I think that our books episode, we did the Alcoholic Book Club, and that was actually one that we recorded in person. And I think that one was difficult for me because, now granted, there's a lot of really good books out there. I've read maybe a few of them. And the couple of books that I've read over my lifetime comes to a couple of handfuls. But also we recorded that one in person. So I kind of wanted to be ready and know what I was talking about. So that one for me was the one that like I hemmed and hawed a lot about.
Yeah, there was a handful of episodes that were, easy to put together, but then there's ones that were a little more involved, and then there's ones that really, I'm gonna get romantic here with you, but they taught me a lot about you. Episodes like the top 5 bucket list travel destinations, or the top 5 things that scare us. Those were episodes where they were pretty open ended.
Yeah.
But they taught a lot about how you think and where your mindset's at. Even
that's like a good point. The ones where you had to tell a story, you had to like, okay, well, tell me about that, and then like you paint the picture of what you had to do and what where you're going through and all that kind of stuff. Like I think those ones are definitely ones that I learned the most about you. I think those are the fun ones. Yeah,
and like the things that kind of kept the putting together these lists were fun throughout the week because they kind of gave us something to look forward to. They kept the spirits high. Episode 22 was the top 5 things to do after COVID. So when we recorded that in January of 2021,
wow,
where we were like coming out of the New Year's, and we're like, man, COVID was still very prominent, and vaccine hadn't been prevalent yet, and we're like, man, what do we want to do? Like, how do we want to get our life back together? So it was very fun to put our heads together and kind of help regain our sanity in that aspect.
That's I didn't even think about it. That's crazy. How do you come up? So we pick our lists generally before the end of the next episode, and then we have a week to kind of think about it. How does your week, how do you construct what you're going to put in your list throughout the week? Is it the day before you're like, oh shit, I got to get this done, Adam's going to be pissed?
Quite honestly, if it's people, music, or movies, I don't want to tip the cap or show too much behind the scenes here, but those are the ones that I don't spend as much time on. Those are the ones where it's like they kind of come together easy.
Hey, it's
like
going to be another mail it in episode from Nick. Cool.
Not so much mail it in, but it's like if you ask me like, hey Nick, what's your top 5 podcast guests you want to have on? I could probably come up with a pretty good list within 5 minutes.
You're like, off the top of my head, who gives a shit about preparing? Let's drink up. Yeah, boy.
But the list that
it's my co-host, everybody. All right, I'll drink to that.
I can't tell you how many times this is a little behind the scenes as well inside the actor studio. I can't tell you how many times I pride myself on trying to get our episodes out every Wednesday.
Yep.
Now we've played around with the time in which the episode drops, whether it be noon or 6 a.m. We're trying to make it available to where my thoughts are to have it available when you wake up. That way, whether you're listening to us getting ready or on the drive to work or during lunchtime, I want to have that episode ready on Wednesday.
Yep.
Kind of something to look forward to midweek. Now, there's been probably half a dozen times where I've woken up at 4 a.m. and been like, oh, shit, I didn't finish the podcast. And so I've gotten up at 4:30 or 5. I didn't tell you this.
No.
I've got up at 4:30 or 5 and like finished the episode so I can drop it at 6 or 7.
Brutal. That's dedication, my man.
But no, like the episodes that are the most fun, that take the most time to put together, are quite honestly the hypothetical ones that we put together.
Yeah.
Specifically like the Armageddon episode. Like we put together this list of things, like the top 5 things you would need if shit hits the fan. You got to get out of town. You got to provide for your family. You got to provide for your safety.
Yep.
And I was like, oh, that's easy. I'll just get a gun, some water, how to start a fire, some transportation. And next thing you know, I've got a list of 20 things. I'm like, whoa, and hold on, we got 5 things. I got to narrow this down to the top 5 things to get. And so I really wanted to come across knowledgeable and prepared in that aspect, And so when I tried to narrow it down to 5, that was a tough one to get it down to.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. I think you hit on something there too, which was on the topics where it's like there's so many that you just throw and you're like, fuck, I gotta count. I got to cut this down. I got to whittle this down to 5, knowing full well that I'm going to X off 15 that are going to be awesome. Yeah, for sure. For sure.
Other episodes like the underrated episode, we talked about our top 5 things that are underrated, things that we value that other people don't quite see the brilliance in.
Yeah.
That was a tough one to come up with. Yep. But I think we really did do a good job on that one as well. Also, what was it? How do we word that? Our best purchases?
Oh, yeah.
What episode? I'm looking for that one.
Yeah, that's oh, shit.
I'm scrolling through the list here. What episode was that? It was our best purchases.
It was like, okay. Cool.
Or we had a real highbrow episode here. I see on March 31st, we dropped our top 5 quotes.
Yeah.
That took a little longer to put together than most lists, but in April we dropped the top 5 podcast guests, and I wrote that list in like 3 minutes. I thoroughly defended my answers, but that was not the most involved. Awesome. What episode do you think you did the most preparation for? What took the longest for you, do you think?
One that took the longest was the gift episode. So
yeah, I agree.
2 episodes ago, the gift episode. This one was just because it's a bit clickbaity, the title and all that kind of stuff. And, who knows if it, people are like, oh, well, these guys said, so they clearly know what they're talking about. I got to get a gift. And you know what? I think it was a good episode. And I think all that time that we put in was great. So like when somebody's thinking, okay, I need to get a $10,000 gift from a buddy. These are clearly the experts. And so I think, when somebody says that, I go, mission accomplished. So
the episodes that are the most fun, that leave me feeling the best, are like the top 5 dream house elements, or the top 5, what would we say? Dream garage, where they're kind of like fantasy, almost like vision board episodes.
Yeah. Okay.
Those are the ones that make me feel like, okay, I'm gonna go kill it tomorrow in business, whatever I'm doing. Whether it's trying to sell some production work or, some photo shoot, whatever it is. Like I always wake up the next day being like optimistic because I've got like this clear sight. Oh, top 5 adventures to take.
Yeah. For sure.
It's not all about money, but money provides freedom and the ability to do stuff like that. So that always leaves me feeling just more fired up to go out there and kill it in business.
Yeah, that's a good point. I think where I want to just like to be a little bit better than you. And I think the episode
we'd be lying if we didn't say there's a little bit of competition going into these lists. Like I knew like the cabin episode. I'm like, I think I did a pretty good job on that episode.
But killed me, of course.
But then a couple of weeks ago, you killed me on the dream or iconic vehicles.
Oh, yeah.
I didn't word the episode correctly. I'm like, all right, Adam, we're gonna put together a list of our top 5 iconic vehicles.
Yeah.
And I thought for sure, we're just talking about cars, but you came in like hot with the Millennium Falcon, and you could see me on the video. I kind of pushed my chair back from the desk a little bit, and I'm like, oh shit, I'm playing this game. He's playing a whole different game here.
Well, I think that's the fun part too. Is if I can throw you maybe, like, obviously most of the time it doesn't work to throw you a curveball if I'm trying to throw you a curveball every week. But if I'm playing it straight most of the time, I'm just trying to come up with the best ones. But then I'm like, okay, what's my angle that I can like mess him up or like, oh, he's not going to think about this, and like be able to talk about it. I think that part makes it fun too.
One of our many listeners, gave us the feedback that we need to be more critical of each other's lists. And I think in the next coming year, I think that is something we should do, because a lot of times we are patting each other on the back quite a bit when we were sharing our list. But
yeah, well, you have a good cadence. No, tempo. You have a good, when you give me compliments.
Well, I don't know about you, but like when it comes to alcohol, like for alcohol for me, I get happy and social.
Yeah.
And so if for me to be combative and like argumentative or, debating your list, it doesn't come natural to me. But at the same time, I think moving forward, I think I need to be more critical of our lists, like, oh, really? That's what you wasted your spot number 3 on, was this? Okay.
Yeah. And I think that's what they are subjective, right? So it's not necessarily, we have not really gone down the road of like, well, what's the fastest car? Oh, what's fast mean? Does that mean a quarter mile, or does that mean around a rally track? And that matters, Nick. Like we haven't had those kind of conversations.
Well, and that's why I think we're really onto something here with these lists, because I don't know about you, you've probably done the same thing I have, but like when we're trying to come up with these list ideas, I've Googled top 5 lists, but everything that pops up is like the top 5 fastest cars, the top 5 fastest planes. It's all like very provable, non-subjective stuff, but there's not a lot of people out there like arguing, who's the most top 5 movie characters, who's the most iconic, blah, 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 or who's the top 5 people we like to kick in the nuts.
Yeah. Can't find that list.
That's not on Google, so the more we continue with this, the more we'll carve out our space in these lists.
Well, and I think the best part of that too is like, your list is going to be different than mine. Cole's list is going to be different. The list that my mother formulates of the people that she wants to kick in the nuts is going to be different. And that's a good thing. It's all about different ideas. So yeah, subjective opinions. Go ahead, Peggy. Kick them right in the nuts.
Oh, buddy. So one of the things that kind of popped up, kind of formed naturally, was you started hitting me with these hypothetical questions a couple weeks ago. These would you rathers, and one of our major inspirations for the podcast, both of us, we are true fanboys of Barstool and everything they're putting out, and that's kind of what we want to model our business after, is kind of creating our own space with all the different legs that they have. They've got the podcast, they've got the Instagram content, and then within the Instagram content now they've got 4 different channels or 5, whatever it is they're up to. So I spent some time on Barstool today and just kind of pulled some fun would you rather hypothetical questions I wanted to bounce off in. We can kind of kick those around a little bit here.
Okay. What you got?
Yeah, this is kind of fun because usually you're coming in with a lot of those prepared, but I kind of pulled the best of the best here. Now, what I found, a lot of those are ones that are not family friendly.
Okay.
And usually I'm responsible for putting together some non-family friendly ones. But so I tried to pull together some ones that we could answer in front of our mom.
Oh, bless your heart.
Just to not make everything, would you rather have sex with this dead corpse or this dead corpse? Because that's usually what all the would you rather questions kind of lead to.
Yeah. Yep.
So an interesting one that I found was on Barstool was, let's see here. Would you rather go back to being 18 years old, knowing everything you know now? So you go back to being 18, you take all that knowledge you've gained up until you're 45 now? How old are you? Or would you rather have $5 million?
Oh, okay. Most certainly back to 18 with all the knowledge.
Defend your answer.
$5 million now is fantastic, right? But anything going forward now is just based on modeling or the idea of what we've seen in the past. If I go back in time now, clarifying question: if am I going back to being 18 in 2020? Wait, 2000. When was I 18?
Oh, okay. I see where
2001.
you're going.
I think I was 18 in 2001. 2000 or 2001. Anyway, am I going back in time knowing all the things that I know, or am I 18 in 2021?
I think the way they intended the question would be to go back in time. And little behind the scenes here, the way Barstool worded it was $1 million. I upped it to $5 million because I thought it was too easy of an answer to lean towards there. So $5 million or go back to when was I? I was 18 in 2002, I think, when I graduated high school.
Yeah. So it's no question going back. So think about this. Okay. Amazon stock in 2000 was worth $3. It's now worth $3,500.
Oh, so buddy, you're right.
Just knowing that, you would make that 5 million, 1 million. It wouldn't even matter. And just think about all the other things you know right now.
That's really good because my initial thought was, I'm not necessarily proud of everything I've done, but everything I've done has led me to where I'm at now.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I'll take the $5 million now and invest it and turn it into 10 million, whatever it is, But you brought up a good point. Yeah, if you have that insider knowledge, I mean, that's reminiscent of one of my favorite movies, Back to the Future, but the episode or saga number 3, where Biff gets that the sports book that shows every outcome of every sports game.
Yep.
For the last 30 years, 40 years, whatever it was.
Yep.
And you can just place those bets. And that's that swayed my decision back towards going back in time.
Yeah. I mean, it's
you could own some Bitcoin. You could own some Amazon, Microsoft stock.
No, I mean, knowing what you know now, going back to when you're 18, reliving that time and being able to do that. I mean, it's not a question. Now, as far as opportunity goes, but what you said, well, I think regardless, you know what you know, and you go back when you're younger and be able to do it. I think it's just a hands down no brainer. Now, my life is amazing and it's awesome and it's going to continue to be amazing and awesome and will only get better. And I wouldn't trade it except for that. Would you rather?
So I think
because I would still have my life, right? I mean, I would go back to my life that far. I mean, why not be in the same situation only with $200 billion in the bank?
But would it change you? Would you still met your wonderful wife?
Well, of course I would, because I would go about making sure that I know all the things I know now, so I can make that happen.
You would have to have the wherewithal to make sure you don't become an absolute douche.
Oh, because you're making the wonderful assumption, which I appreciate, that I'm not an absolute douche right now. So I do value your flattering. But I would be just as douchey.
All right, so I think we're both landing on the fact we'd go back in time. That's an easy one.
Mm-hmm. What would be your case for taking the money? What would you do?
Well, for taking the money, it provides for us immediately. Immediately, our lifestyle changes. Immediately, we can take most of that money and invest it into situations where it would just start making more reoccurring money, for us, where we wouldn't have to work the rest of our lives.
Cash flow. Yep.
That's really the only argument. The fact that it would change everything immediately, and that we wouldn't, you're the mathematician, you're the finance guy. 5 million. If you take
you're set.
4 million of that and put it in the bank, you're set for life. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, obviously we'd talk about it a little bit more specifically, but yeah, you're set.
Yeah. Unless you don't do anything stupid, like try to go invest in GameStop or something like that,
Yeah. I mean, really, you get $5 million, you're set for life. If you do a bunch of stupid spending and things like that, sure, but
even if you put it in the most conservative investment, what?
Yeah, I mean, you make a couple of smart moves, you get cash flow moving a little bit, and you don't buy anything that your investments. I mean, it's the Grant Cardone stuff too. Like you listen to anyone, whether it's Dave Ramsey or Tony Robbins or Grant Cardone, and you just have your money create more money and only spend the money that your money makes, you're living high on the hog. Yep.
I love it.
Yeah, man. No, that's a good one.
Learning more about each other here. I love that.
That's right.
All right. Here's an odd one. These are all from Barstool.
I'm gonna cut you off. I'm gonna cut you off because I'm gonna add in a quote. Okay, and this is one that I got just a day or two ago that I fucking love. And now that I've got a little bit more scotch in me, I'm a little bit more lubed up. So
do share. Let's go.
Feeling a little bit better. But this one hit me square in the chest because I was like, you know what? Fuck yeah, dude. I love the fact that we do this podcast. I want to continue doing this and push it and just be who we are and just kick ass at it. So Arnold Schwarzenegger was a speaker at a college, probably the keynote speaker. And he had a very, very simple message. It was a nice long speech as I'm going on and on about. But the important part was just this 2 sentences. And he basically said, work your ass off, then advertise. Work your ass off, then advertise. So you think about that. You're like, just work your absolute tail off. Work it to the bone. Just work your tail off and then tell everybody that you're doing it. Like that. That's what he did. He was like, I want to get really, really big, buff, and strong. Okay, I'm going to tell all the people around me that I'm going to do that. I'm just going to work my ass off. And then he did. And then he was like, I want to be in movies and I want to make money. So he did. He worked his absolute ass off. He made the European bricklayers, and then built himself into a place where he could only choose the movies that he wanted to be in. And then he started owning stuff, and then he started owning properties, and like. And then he just advertised to how great Arnold Schwarzenegger is. He's doing all these things. And it's like, why not? Work your ass off and then advertise. It's a very tough thing for us to be like, I really want to be good at this. And also, I want to tell everybody. And I want to tell everybody about my process. And I want to tell everybody about the successes. And it's like, we're like taught not to do that. And it's like either you do that and you're a showboat, which he's not saying that. He's saying work your ass off and then advertise. So I just love that.
No, advertising creates accountability. Making it public. Even getting as specific as like a fitness goal. If you make that goal public, you're 10 times more likely to accomplish that goal.
Yep. That's why we all have ideas and thoughts and things that, I had that idea back then. Well, it's like, yeah, but you didn't say it. You didn't do it. You didn't advertise it. You didn't talk about that you were planning to do it. And guess what? It didn't happen. And I'm so guilty of this. That's why I'm like, I'm pointing my own chest right now, because it's like, like you just said it, with like a fitness goal. Like I have a fitness goal, and it's like, you know what? It means so much to me that I'm not telling anybody about it, because what happens if I don't do it and then I don't get it? Yeah, that's bullshit. That's such bullshit. So work your ass off, then advertise it.
Well, I think that it's appropriate. Normally we don't do this till the end of the episode, but I think it's appropriate to kind of tip the cap a little bit to what we're doing next week.
Okay.
Which is the top 5 things we wish we started but didn't.
Yeah.
Because you pushed me into this podcast, and I am so happy that we kept going with this podcast. We put it out there. You started a social media channel. You've been pumping it on there, and you got this expectation now that people are watching our channel. We're up to over 2,000 followers,
something like that. Yeah,
something like that. And so people are expecting this, and so it keeps us going, because we can make every excuse under the sun not to record.
Yep.
Or not to get on an episode this week, but making it public, making it known. There's power in that.
Yeah, man. So anyway, I didn't want to get in the way of your hypotheticals, but I just got inspired and I wanted to throw that one out there.
No, that's good. That was very fitting. So this next one is a life or death situation here.
Okay.
So if you had to win a game show to stay alive, what game show would you pick to be in?
Oh man, that is a good one. Yeah. Okay. So we got a couple of things that we can do. So, Obviously, trivia is more down like the Jeopardy route, right? And we've got
Jeopardy or Wheel of Fortune, even
spelling and writing and puzzle solving. Scrabble type stuff is Wheel of Fortune.
Yep, you're right.
We've got the singing competitions that if you listen to our karaoke at all, you would know that we have no chance at that one.
Right.
And then you've got like Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, right? Which that was where my mind first went, right? Yeah. And I'm like, I wonder what level I've got to get to in order to save my life. It's like, okay, so if I get to like the $1,000 level, like, yeah, you gotta live, but we're gonna take your arm.
take a
like,
limb.
Okay, can I get to 20,000 and Who Wants to Be a Millionaire? Because getting to 1 million on Who Wants to Be a Millionaire is some things have to fall your way.
That my mind went first to Who Wants to Be a Millionaire because you have 4 lifelines, and that's the one game show where I've made it almost to 1 million just by being an audience member, like a viewer,
Yeah. I'll tell you this. I would choose Family Feud. And why? Okay, so my thought process here, right? So you're going up against another family that's going to lose. And if they lose, they're going to die, right? So they're
right. The whole family dies.
You're competing, right? But just like all these other game shows, you're competing against other people. It's not necessarily against the machine or whatever. And if it's Family Feud, that means I got to have my family, and I gotta believe in my family that if I'm gonna go down, this game needs to save my life. I'm going with the team effort of my family on Family Feud. What about you?
Solid. Okay. So wait, quick question. What's the show with Howie Mandel? One of the suitcases and the boxes. What's that called again?
Oh, yeah. Well, kids, what he's describing is a show that was on TV probably 15 years ago. It's called, no, I don't know. It's Deal or No Deal?
Deal or No Deal. Yeah, that was another solid one. Where I'm like, maybe I'll go there. But
is that even on TV? I don't know. I don't even know if it's on totally making fun of you. It's all good.
No, my mind went there too. My mind first went to Who Wants to Be a Millionaire. Because I think I could sit there with Regis and hang.
Yeah.
You got four lifelines, so you got 4, not gimmies, but you got 4 that are, you got at least a collaborative effort to get the answer right.
Yeah.
And at least with that show, you have a 25% chance. The answer's on the board.
Right. Absolutely true. The answers are on the board.
So that was where my mind first went. And then I went to Deal or No Deal because I'm like, okay, that's kind of fun. You're kind of gambling your way through there a little bit.
Yeah.
But then my qualifying question though for you is, are shows, would you consider this a game show? Like shows like Ninja Warrior?
Oh.
Because if you consider those game shows, I'm 100% putting my athletic ability, even though I'm, just an average, 5'11" white guy, I'm still going to put my talents to risk my life, where I have to, jump across a moat, swing from the thing, climb the ladder. I think I'd rather go that than have to go intellect.
Now, are you doing that right now? How are you feeling about your physical conditioning to go through a Ninja Warrior challenge right now?
I'm feeling pretty good.
Okay.
I'm actually not bad. I'm not as explosive as I was 20 years ago or 10 years ago, but if you asked me to go out and run a half marathon right now, I could do that cold tomorrow. If you asked me to, climb something, what I think I could, man, I really do. And my another thought would be, cause like the Ninja Warrior ones are fun. They're actually like, they take it pretty seriously.
Yeah.
But then my mind went to, there's several different versions of this show. The Japanese ones that have like, the swinging things that knock you off into the moat, or the things that pop out of the wall and punch you in the face and knock you into the muddy water. I think that'd be fun too, man. I don't know if I'd put my life on the line for that, but at least the Ninja Warrior was kind of where my mind went.
Yeah, I got to tell you. So I may not look like I'm in the worst shape ever, but like, I mean, I think about I think about the upper body strength of the pulls and the pushes and the swinging and the hand straight, the dexterity of holding on and all that kind of stuff. And I just go, man, I know what it was like when I was in such peak physical condition and probably could have gone through the Ninja Warrior, that I go, man, if my life depended on it right now without training, I don't think I could get through it. And so then it's like, I know that I couldn't. So then I got to go Family Feud.
You're right. The upper body strength is a tough one because, you can kind of muster through with the legs because they're such big muscle groups. But
right,
that's one thing I've always had naturally was good grip strength. So I think I could hang in there.
Yeah, man, I love it.
So I'm going the Ninja Warrior.
Does Survivor Man count?
Is that a game show or is that what do they call that?
That's most certainly not a game show.
No, that's not a game show. You're right.
Yeah, I made the mistake. I made the mistake on a reality show episode where I was looping in. I looped into a couple of game shows. So I don't know.
We defended our answers though, if I remember right.
Yeah, right.
That was back when we were really being nice to each other.
That's true. Oh, good point, Nick. Really being nice to each other.
That's funny. So you're going.
I got to go Family Feud, I think. Yeah.
Family Feud. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Man. Yeah.
And right now, is that your immediate family? Would that just be you and Diana?
It would be immediate. I mean, it would be immediate family. I think Diana. I think it would be like my mom, my dad,
your brother,
my brother. Yeah. I think how many are on a Family Feud?
There's at least 4, right? I don't know.
Yeah. You know what? I would probably. I hope my brother hears this. I would probably drop him and grab his wife, because we need a pop culture references, and she just knows everything about everything. My brother's super technical, but it's like survey says, not like what did the computer say. Love you, Paul. Take that one.
I've got 2 more for you.
Okay.
These are the last. This one's really highbrow here.
Okay. Good. Let me put my straight face on.
Would you rather be blind or dickless?
Oh,
this one got me squirming.
Well, you mean I get to choose between being blind or female? Is that what you're trying to say, Nick? Are you saying
we're getting in some gray area here with the gender specificity?
Wait a second.
Would you rather be Adam with no dong? Or blind?
Gotcha. Okay, so you're insinuating that I have a dong. Okay, cool. All right, so
that's your original best friend.
Yeah, man, blind.
I don't know if there's a guy in the world that would answer that question any differently, but
I mean, of course, it's blind.
It's
right?
tough though. Guys are so visual though. At the same time, like, I guess at that point it wouldn't matter who's touching it. Maybe. Listen. As long as someone's touching it.
Listen, guys are only visual because.
Let's dig ourselves into deeper holes here. Keep going.
Guys are only visual because that's what's acceptable, right? It's unacceptable to be physical unless it's within the proper parameters, right? I mean,
yeah.
I mean, if you're gonna go from as we've evolved as a species and all the things that are okay versus not okay, things that were okay 10, 5, how old are we? 2,000 years ago, 20,000 years ago, the things that were okay then, it's not necessarily like, oh, well, he was a good guy because he only looked at things on a magazine. No, he just grabbed and touched what he wanted, right? So like, you say that, like, guys are very visual. Well, yeah, I mean, there's a certain amount of evolution there, right?
Yeah, this is a tough one for me.
I mean, if we're talking senses, is what I'm getting at.
Yeah. I landed on blind as well.
Really, you don't want to cut your pecker off?
No, because here's the deal. My wife would stay with me if I was blind. However, ... Because if I was blind, then I'd be her ultimate puppet. She could dress me the way she wants to. She's always pushing me to wear, I've talked about in other episodes, pastel colors and be more fun. And then she'd be driving me to do all these TikTok videos with her and whatever, But I don't know. If I didn't have the magic stick, I don't know if she'd stick with me.
So then the double down follow-up question, was Jane trying to make you blind? Because it sounds like a win-win for her.
I mean, I've only got eyes for her, so I'm not sure how much more blind I can go.
Oh, look at you. Oh, but she would win if you didn't have all these opinions because you have vision. So, I don't know. Moving on.
That was a tough one.
That was a good one, man. I like this. This is a fun episode. This is fun. People are all like, right. I already tuned out.
Well, I've got one last one for you here, dude.
Okay.
I've modified this one a little bit from the way Barstool positioned it because I thought their length of time was a little bit off. But would you rather be stuck in hardcore jail, like not just like, holding tank, but actually in prison for 1 month? So you have a set amount of time. They said a year. I'm going to say a month.
Okay.
In prison for a month, or you're in prison within a Rubik's Cube and you're only there as long as it takes you to solve it.
The cube.
The cube?
Yeah.
Have you ever solved a Rubik's Cube?
Nope.
I got schooled about 6 months ago. Our friends here in Las Vegas, they have 3 kids that are all 3 of them are prodigy childs.
Yep.
And 2 of them especially had I want to say 8 different Rubik's Cubes. I didn't know there was 8 different Rubik's Cubes, but there's ones that are, the traditional, is it a 4x4 or 3x3? Whatever it is.
Yep.
They had one that's like an 8x8. They had all these ones that are different shapes.
Yep.
And they had that thing down. And all 8 of them, they could solve it within like a minute and a half.
Yeah. It's annoying.
They tossed it to me. I couldn't. I took one home. I couldn't figure it out, man.
Yeah. It's a sequence. I don't know the sequence. I watched a buddy in college who's a mechanical engineer, and you work through a sequence, kind of watching the macro of the colors as you're going through the sequence, and then you can kind of do it. Like if you get caught in the weeds of like, oh, I need to move this one, but if you kind of are like going through the sequence and watching your yellows line up and watching your greens line up and watching like you'll get it sorted. So yeah,
you're looking like 3 or 4 steps ahead.
Yeah. Okay. So let me clarify this question of yours. So in both scenarios, I'm in prison and I'm having to do with what you have to do with in prison.
Everything you can imagine prison can be. You're either in there for a set amount of time, which is a month, or it could be you're only in there for a couple hours because it only took you a couple hours to figure out the Rubik's Cube. Or maybe it took you 3 months to figure out the Rubik's Cube, so you're in there for longer.
Right. Oh my God. So it's basically my over-under on a month to figure out a Rubik's Cube is what the question is.
Yeah.
Oh my God. And the fact that it's like, I don't know if it's a month or not to figure out this fucking puzzle. I think that with the motivation of getting out of fucking prison, because prison is fucking terrible. I have no idea, but I think so. I mean, I gotta go with the Rubik's Cube. I gotta bet on myself.
Now, the only caveat I'm gonna throw at you, this just popped in my head. You're in federal, what was it, Office Space, federal pound me in the ass prison with an Rubik's Cube. You're the Rubik's Cube guy. How's that going to go over?
Yeah, it's not going to go over well.
That just popped in my head there. I'm almost kind of leaning toward taking the fixed amount of time.
Yeah, because you're not necessarily getting to possess that Rubik's Cube the whole time.
You might have that Rubik's Cube stuffed up your rectum.
Oh, damn near killed him right up his rectum.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm still betting on myself. I'm going with the Rubik's Cube.
I'm going a month.
Yeah. Well, when you're out earlier, you can celebrate. When I'm stuck there forever. Oh, brutal. Brutal. That was a good one.
Yeah, I did a little bit of prep work for today, but
yeah, you did.
I like it. Man.
I got a question for you.
What do you got?
Well, unless you're ready to end, which it sounds like you are.
I'm only halfway through the second beverage, so go for it.
I thought about this while I was making dinner today. Okay, and then you can tell me that it's crazy, but there's a thought through it. Okay, so the thought is and it is not the first time this has happened, but sending smells through the phone, right? So we can take pictures of something, we can record something, but can you send smells through the phone? And the thought is I was making some kick-ass dinner. I mean, like, I made a fucking great dinner tonight. I don't mind telling you. And it smelled so good. And I was like, man, if I could fucking send this, that would be incredible. Like, send this smell through the phone. That would be really, really cool. Now, the easy answer is you're like, dude, that's never going to happen. How are you going to send smells through the phone? Right? I mean, that's your thought, right? Of course. Why wouldn't it be? No?
Well, that's the one thing that they have a hard time recreating. They can recreate stuff, visually. They can recreate a feeling. They can recreate temperatures. But smells, like, I don't think they've really cracked the code on how to do that, because if you're in a VR situation and you could pump in smells, that would just add like a whole nother element to the whole thing, Right.
And I think so if you think big in that sense, that's where you're going, because it's not the I don't know if you've been to Universal Studios or gone on the Harry Potter ride or any of these other like kind of crappy rides where they like they spin you around in a circle and then like blow air on your neck and you're like pretending that's wind, or they like spit on your neck and it's like, oh, it's raining. It's the same thought, right? If you think that like, I'm going to send you this smell and like the phone's going to spit out this smell and you're gonna be like, oh, now I smell it because my phone spit it out, right? It's the wrong way of looking at the technology. I think that what's going to happen is down the neural link, right? So down Elon Musk's AI brain implant stuff, right? So you have receptors on your side, and I take a little recording of the smell and then I send it to you. And what happens is all of the AI side, the data, the information, all of that gets sent to you on the system. Okay. And then the system grabs all of the technology and the data and it says, oh, no, with this chemistry and blah, blah, blah. And then it tells your brain what it smells like. And then you can
rather than recreating the smell itself.
Correct. Right. Because that's the wrong way of thinking about how technology works. We're not necessarily going to send stuff or have you, it's all about in the receptors and how you perceive things. And it's not so different than when people say like, eating large amounts of chocolate is very similar to how you feel or the body receives love. Or you take a certain, you can do a certain activity and get dopamine, or you can
right.
snort a certain drug and get serotonin, or you can do these things. So that's us in our monkey brains at the lowest level of that understanding. I think at the larger understanding is things like what Elon Musk is talking about with this Neuralink stuff and having an implant in your brain. And then I send you something and it goes to your implant and your implant says, this is what it smells like. And it like paints a picture like the Matrix. I think that's where AI goes. I think that's where the pieces of the data and the chemistry and all those things play together. I think that's how that works. So that was my little like, I wish I was like smoking pot or something, because that's like my pothood moment while I was making dinner and wanted to send my mom the smell.
No, as soon as that technology exists, so the first thing guys are going to do is just start sending each other the most disgusting smells. That's always what guys do. They take some technology and they use it to, if I got a camera phone now, I'm going to send you a dick pic, or I'm going to send you a picture of a dump I took. That's what guys do. And so yeah, I'd be immediately sending you, oh, this is the most epic fart.
Smell it.
Smell it, bro.
So that's what we have to look forward to in AI. When you get Neuralink and I get Neuralink, I'm going to just send you a nice big smelling one.
I love it. Well, this has been a very highbrow portion of the episode here. I got a question for you, dude.
Yes.
We've been at this for a year now. We're carving out our space in the top 5 list authority area.
Yep.
We've got some good momentum going. What do you want to see change and develop in the next coming year with the PowerFall project?
Yeah, man. In the next year, I have tempered expectations. I mean, my wild ideas, my wild goals for what this could be is us do this professionally. Really, what I aspire to do is the things like the Dude Perfect guys, the Rob Dyrdek guys, the Fantasy Factory guys, the guys that do what they want, how they and what they love doing, and then just documenting. I mean, that's what those guys are doing. Now, granted, there's some showmanship, which is great, but what I would like to have happen in the PowerFall project is us to have our studio, us to be able to hang out more often together and do these things and live this stuff out, document the hell out of it. And then I love being curious, and I just want to learn about incredible people doing incredible things and learning as much as I can from them and documenting.
Yeah. Your answer is a little bit different than mine. Mine's more on the technical side of things. Like I want to do all these stuff that's kind of going to get us there. Like I definitely want to keep investing more time in the YouTube channel, because I love consuming visual stuff versus just audio only. So I want to start adding more elements to the YouTube channel, get that pumped up. One of the ways I know we've made it is when we've got a fan base that starts to use like PowerFall isms, stuff that we say, they start including that in their vernacular. That's how we know we've started to build our tribe.
Yep.
And I think we've talked off air too. I want to get to the point where we're got enough traction that we can start selling some fun merch.
Yeah, man.
And creating that community around people that, got this limited edition shirt or this limited edition mug that we got. And so anytime we see those things posted, we're like, oh, that's a fan. That's a true fan.
Yeah. And to that point too, like what I think is so cool about that too, is it's not necessarily like, look at us making money off that thing. It was like, that was somebody who was fan enough to wear that. That's cool.
Yeah.
I think that's fucking awesome. So yeah, good call.
Yeah. And just get enough traction to the point where we can start bringing on guests and include them in the list and have these heated debates about, top 5 cars or top 5 movie, whatever it is, and just branching out in that aspect. So that's what I'm hoping for in the next coming year. I think a year is feasible. A lot could happen in a year. A lot happened with this whole podcast in a year.
Yeah, man.
So we've already alluded to what we're doing next week, but do you want to remind us again what we're doing next week?
So next week is the top 5 things you wish you started but didn't.
Yeah, it's open-ended. It could be anything. That was inspired by, of course, us starting this podcast a year ago, and the rewards have been unexpected that have paid off on this podcast here. Just like I said, the camaraderie that we built, knowing that we get to check in with each other once a week, and the flex and the creativity and whatnot, and these lists, that's been unexpected, and feedback from fans and whatnot has been unexpected. And so I'm super pumped.
This one was spurred from one of my buddies. So this is from my buddy Ryan Lehman and Pacific Northwest, the man child. He's built like a brick shit house. He is absolutely ripped up. And him and a couple of his buddies listen to our episodes while they're working out. Probably checking each other out. So anyway, hats off to you, Ryan, and your boys. But that's what I wanted to. I wanted to embarrass you a little bit there. But then I wanted to just say that hats off to you for being a listener. That's awesome. And this is, I think the main thing about this is the PowerFall Project podcast. This thing that we're doing right now, it did not exist a year ago. And the fact that we made this happen in a time where it was a lot of uncertainty, we didn't really know what was going on, and the fact that we did it is pretty incredible. And there's a lot of times throughout this time that it could have not happened. And so I think that's what spurs the list. What spurs the list is, what are all those other things that we could have done? And then what can we learn from that? And then not let that happen again, and just do the things that we want to do and start those things that we should have started. That's what I think the important of this list is.
Yeah. Well, truly one of the positive things that came out of COVID, because if it wasn't for the shutdown, the lockdown, I mean, we probably would just be going about our normal lives. And, if we didn't have this antsiness and this anxiousness that came about from being shut down and locked in and whatnot, I mean, who knows? We probably would have put it off for a long, long time.
It's true. Very true. Dude, congratulations. You made it a year with me.
Cheers to the video to you. I don't know if you got any drink left, but I'm holding my cup up right now. Cheers to you, Adam.
I got no drink left and no video left. Mine's conked off a while ago.
Awesome. We'll continue working on the technical side of things in this coming year, but thanks to you, bro, and here's to the next year.
Hey, here's to you, man. Thank you everybody for listening. We really, really appreciate it. That's another one in the books.
PowerFall Project signing off.
Later.